guys, would you tell everyone the presentation's about to start?
All right. Good evening. We want to welcome all our feathered friends, the reptiles among us, and of course, all of you mammals. And we want to give a very special thank you to St. Francis Ministry for Animals. Thank you for helping us help our local wildlife. We appreciate your help. Let's make some noise for them. So for this evening, we picked one story to tell out of the many, many stories over the years. To do that, I will turn the stage over to Spiro. Take it away, Spiro.
This is the story of Stitch, a young, feisty brown pelican, and a story of teamwork by the volunteers of the Ark. To tell a story, we have to go way back to September 13th, 2003. Hard to believe St. Augustine goes back that far. But Stitch was found along the intercoastal waterway with his pouch in shreds. Because of the holes, probably torn by a fish hook, he could not get food down his throat. Most of it would just fall out. He was determined to live, so he figured out he could jerk his head back and get some fish past the holes. But that was not enough to sustain him. Stitch was in big trouble. With a group of volunteers and several hours of coaxing the hungry bird with 3 big bags of mullet, they were finally able to grab Stitch with a net. But catching him was only the first step. It took a dozen people to rescue, transport, operate on, and care for Stitch. Teamwork for this one pelican who had the worst tear in his pouch that anyone had ever seen. Over 100 dissolvable stitches were needed to patch him up. It took 3 attempts to sew up his pouch until the stitches held and he could eat and swallow. Then he needed to rest, recuperate, and build up his strength. The story made the front page of the paper. Stitch was famous. Another pelican who had a parasite problem joined him as he was recuperating, so he had a friend. Then it became Stitch and Lilo. After 6 weeks of rest and lots of fish, they were ready to go back out into the wild. The St. Augustine record was there with a dozen volunteers as Stitch and Lilo were released on October 22nd, 2003. A heartwarming story, to say the least, of humans' teamwork and love of animals, and the will to live by one brown pelican. But that is not where this story ends. Fast forward to last April. A brown pelican came into the rescue. He was old and in need of some food and rest. He ate lots of fish and rested, but a few weeks later he was getting weaker, not stronger. Karen decided he needed to be hand-fed to make sure he was getting enough to eat. She held up his gullet to put some fish in his mouth and saw the scars from the 100 stitches. Here was Stitch, as an old pelican 16 years later. We helped him when he was young and feisty, and we helped him as an old pelican. As much as we want to, we cannot stop the aging process, so Stitch has since passed away. But knowing that he lived 17 plus years as a wild pelican fills our hearts with joy. He just needed some help at times like we all do. Stitch, we all miss you.